The Buddha and the Poor Man. Chapter 1. The Burden of Poverty. In the ancient city of Rajgir, a poor man named Sudaka lived in a small, dilapidated hut near the riverbank. He was a woodcutter by trade, spending his days in the forest, chopping firewood and carrying heavy bundles to the marketplace. Despite his hard work, he barely earned enough to buy food. His clothes were tattered, his body thin, and his heart burdened with sorrow. Every day, as he walked through the busy streets, he saw wealthy merchants in fine robes, living in grand houses, eating delicious food, and enjoying the pleasures of life. He often wondered why fate had been so cruel to him. One evening, after an exhausting day, he sat by the river, staring at his reflection in the water. His heart ached with frustration. "Why am I so poor?" he muttered to himself. "Is this my destiny? Will I suffer like this until the end of my days?" As he sat in silence, he overheard a group of travelers speaking nearby. "Have you heard? The great Buddha is in Rajgir, staying at the monastery. His teachings are said to bring peace and wisdom." Sudaka had heard of the Buddha before. People spoke of his kindness and wisdom. It was said that those who listened to him found peace, no matter their troubles. Desperate for an answer to his suffering, Sudaka decided he would go see the Buddha the next morning. Chapter 2. Seeking the Buddha. At dawn, Sudaka walked to the monastery, his heart filled with both hope and doubt. As he entered, he saw a large gathering of monks and lay people seated in silence, listening to the Buddha. His golden aura seemed to radiate peace, and his eyes held the depth of infinite wisdom. Sudaka hesitated, feeling unworthy. How could a poor, ragged man like him stand before such an enlightened being? Yet something inside him urged him forward. He stepped closer and bowed deeply before the Buddha. The Buddha looked at him with warmth and asked gently, "What troubles you, my friend?" Sudaka's voice trembled as he spoke. "O Blessed One, I am poor. No matter how hard I work, I remain hungry. I see others living in wealth while I struggle for a handful of rice. I have come to you in search of wisdom. Why is my fate so harsh?" The Buddha listened patiently and then asked, "Do you truly believe you are poor, Sudaka?" The question confused him. "Yes, Lord. I have nothing. I live in a broken hut, I wear rags, and my stomach is never full." The Buddha smiled gently. "Tell me, do you have hands?" "Yes, Lord," Sudaka replied. "Can you use them to work?" "Yes, I do every day." "And do you have legs to walk?" "Yes, Lord." "And a mind to think, a heart to feel, and a voice to speak?" "Yes, I have all these things," Sudaka admitted. The Buddha's smile deepened. "Then you are not poor, Sudaka. You have the most valuable things already. There are those who have gold but no peace. There are those with wealth but no wisdom. True poverty is not the lack of money, but the lack of understanding and gratitude. Chapter 3. The True Meaning of Wealth. Sudaka was silent, reflecting on the Buddha's words. He had never thought of himself as anything but poor. The Buddha continued, "Sudaka, tell me, if a man holds a bag of gold but is always anxious, fearful, and never satisfied, is he truly rich?" Sudaka thought for a moment. "No, Lord, he is not rich in spirit." The Buddha nodded. "And if another man has only simple food, but his heart is filled with kindness and gratitude, is he truly poor?" "No, Lord, he has peace." "Then understand this, Sudaka," the Buddha said kindly. "Wealth is not measured by gold, but by the peace in one's heart. If you wish to be truly rich, learn to give. Even a kind word, a helping hand, or a compassionate heart makes one wealthier than kings." Sudaka bowed his head, realizing he had been measuring wealth incorrectly his entire life. Chapter 4. The Gift of Giving. The Buddha then asked, "Sudaka, do you wish to change your life?" "Yes, Lord, more than anything," Sudaka said earnestly. Then start by giving, the Buddha said. Sudaka was confused. But Lord, I have nothing to give, the Buddha smiled. Everyone has something to give. If you cannot give wealth, give kindness. If you cannot give food, give your service. A truly rich man is not the one who has the most, but the one who gives the most. With these words, the Buddha placed a small, empty bowl in Sudaka's hands. Take this bowl, and for the next 7 days, give something to others, no matter how small. Sudaka left the monastery with the bowl, uncertain but determined. Chapter 5. The Path to True Wealth. On his way home, he saw a hungry child sitting by the roadside. He hesitated, then offered his only piece of bread. The child smiled gratefully, and for the first time, Sudaka felt a warmth in his heart that no gold could give. The next day, he helped an old man carry his heavy load. The man blessed him, and Sudaka felt a lightness in his soul. Each day, he found small ways to give: his time, his kindness, his help. With each act of generosity, he felt richer. His burden of suffering began to lift. By the end of 7 days, Sudaka returned to the monastery, bowing before the Buddha. "O Blessed One, I understand now. I was never poor. I was blind to the wealth within me. Giving has filled my heart with a richness I never knew before." The Buddha smiled. "You have learned well, Sudaka. True richness lies in a generous heart, in gratitude and in wisdom. Never seek wealth outside. Seek it within." Chapter 6. The Reward of a Changed Heart. Sudaka continued his life with a new perspective. He worked with joy, helped others whenever he could, and found satisfaction in simplicity. His kindness was noticed by the villagers, and soon a wealthy merchant offered him a better job. Years later, Sudaka became a respected man in the village. Though he had enough wealth, he never forgot the Buddha's lesson. He shared what he had, and his heart remained at peace. One day he visited the monastery again and bowed before the Buddha. "Lord, I came to you as a poor man, but today I stand before you as the richest man in Rajgir, not because of gold, but because of the wisdom you gave me." The Buddha's eyes shone with approval. True wealth is measured by the richness of one's heart. You have understood the path well, Sudaka. And so Sudaka lived a life of kindness, generosity, and wisdom, forever grateful for the lesson that had changed his destiny. Conclusion. The story of Sudaka teaches us that true poverty is not in lacking money, but in lacking wisdom, gratitude, and kindness. The Buddha's lesson reminds us that by giving, we receive the greatest wealth, peace, love, and inner happiness.